Hi, welcome to another edition of PAFOW Live, where we go over the news of the week in people analytics and the future of work. And this morning, Pacific time, where I am, I have much to share about last week's People Analytics and Future of Work conference. And before I jump in, I just want to say that I'm so thankful for everyone who participated. We had over 1,300 people in the environment last week, so that exceeded our initial goal of 1,000. So thank you so much for getting involved, and I have some more gratitudes to share in a little bit. For today, we're going to go through this in the first half hour, that being some specific reflections and actions coming out of the event. I'm going to talk about the power of gratitude, intention, and appropriate response. These themes came up in the event itself. And finally, I'll spend the bottom of the hour talking about 4 key skills of a data-driven change agent or data-driven professional. And that will lead into the discussion with Jess Von Bank of LeapGen, which I'll be very, very excited to talk with her about the many great things they're doing around digital transformation and HR transformation and the now of work. And then at 10 a.m. Pacific time, I'm going to talk with my longtime friend, Dan Riley, who is a co-founder of Radical with his brother, Patrick Riley. So with that, let me just jump right into it because there's so much that went on last week. But I'm going to start here with this gratitude of, how do I say this? It was very clear that social justice was a priority for people. And I love that. And I got to say that I certainly own the bias towards that because that's where my value system lies. That's what I want to promote through this channel or this platform that we've created here. That being said, it was just some ideas that I put out, and just to see the participants, the contributors run with that theme and bring forward ideas that were certainly new to me, that were creative, that were virtuous, that were frankly beautiful. I really was taken aback. And again, I'll share some more reflections as we go. And Jess Von Bank, who was part of it, as was Dan, I'm sure there are other perspectives as well when we talk with them. I want to say this past Monday here in the United States, it was in my term, and as we call it here in California, Indigenous Peoples Day. And so I put up this globe. It is becoming more open that we have conversations about Indigenous people here in North America. And I was really taken aback by the conversations I had with those in Australia, and I'll highlight those specific sessions in the link where we did acknowledgement of country and talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion from an Australian perspective, and we discussed it in North America and Europe as well, since it was a 15-hour straight over 2 days. But it was really the case that we have a responsibility to honor Indigenous people around the world. And even though many of us are in this professional community, it invites the question, what do we as professionals have an opportunity to do to honor Indigenous peoples through not only data and analytics, but just how we go through life, day to day. So this is something that I personally am committed to, and that's something as we pursue people data for good and a more equitable, just society, we're going to be talking about more and more, not only discussing, but really putting together concrete actions where we can discuss this and also influence our organizations, our team members, particularly potentially governmental institutions, to do more to acknowledge Indigenous people around the world. So let's get into the actual event, and I am going to attempt to do things and share my screen a little clumsily, potentially. That wasn't so bad. I want to just highlight the speakers, and I'm not going to call them out by name, but as I looked at this list, as I talked to each of these individuals and again, 15 hours in a row on one day, and then 15 hours in a row the next day. I was just pinching myself because all are incredible individuals, incredible professionals. And so the content that came out of that, I believe, is massively valuable. I feel almost irresponsible that I haven't, that 1,300 isn't 13,000 or more, just because it was so not only rich, because that's kind of a overly common term. It was truly inspiring and can lead to appropriate action that actually drives meaningful change. And I'll just call out Eduardo Briceño, who is co-founder of Mindset Works, who I wish he had a couple hours to go through all the things that he had to share around growth mindset. And that is something that is in many organizations around the world, but how do we actually, bring it to life? So he was talking about how that can happen. So I certainly want to highlight that session. When I talked about diversity from and appreciation, acknowledgement of country, Juanita Bonnie and I had not spoken before, certainly in a public forum, and she was just knocking my socks off with in terms of how we as organizations, not only as individuals, because it's we can talk about it, and we can be good people, but how do we actually influence change in our day-to-day lives and within our organization? So I want to call that out too. I can do this for everybody, but in the interest of time, what's up with that dude's hair? So anyway, this would not happen without our sponsors. So I want to thank all of them for effectively betting on our ability as a small company to deliver this experience. And this is, if you haven't heard before, is an always-on platform, what we're calling the PAFOW campus. And I'll share a few screenshots of that in a minute. But really, I want to thank them because they are now understanding that this is going to be something that's going to be around not only for the next year, but hopefully years to come, because it is a very new environment. I will say this, we're probably 30% of where we intend to be over the next 3 weeks or so. So very excited about what's forthcoming there. And let me see if I can elegantly do this. That wasn't so bad. So this is a screenshot of the welcome page to, again, what we're calling the PAFOW campus. So if you've been there already, thank you. Know there's more to come. And when I say more to come, I'm talking about today and tomorrow and over the next few weeks. We leveraged probably 30, like I said, 30 to 40% of the capability of the platform. So we have a lot to build out, and we are working really hard to make that happen. So in this first segment, I just want to wrap on this, and I'll actually touch on it likely when we come back after a short break. But these are the key themes that I saw, and there were certainly more. But really, the ethical and responsible use of people's data was top of mind for everybody. Almost every session spoke to this in one form or another. In terms of a leading practice of organizations that are doing this work well, this work being people analytics, governance and coalition building was a salient truth among all of them. No one's doing this alone, particularly in response to COVID. We are having these crisis management teams, and people analytics is certainly playing a role either as enabling HR or actually in the room themselves. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, I spoke about. It's not going to go away, and I won't let it, because that theme, kind of like with news cycles, comes in favor in organizations, then out, and it's something that's here to stay. And how do we, as people analytics professionals, as HR leaders, not only keep it here, but keep it here for a virtuous purpose where we're in pursuit of this number 4, social justice, and really getting this excitement around it, as opposed to this burdensome, oh gosh, I got to do this, but really, hey, this is a great opportunity to bring around positive change in the world. Growth mindset, it's really this insatiable curiosity and willingness to learn. And it's a colloquial now in many organizations, but I still and Eduardo and I talked about this, there's so much more opportunity to assess for this, develop it, celebrate it. And so particularly as jobs change, as the agile workforce becomes the norm, gig economy, the nature of even jobs are changing quickly. Growth mindset is going to be critical. Digital and remote work and the future of work, we talked about a lot, and I'm going to talk about this in the next segment in a bit. And finally, really taking a proactive action, getting involved and involving others. This idea that we should be waiting for that right sponsor to commission our work, that right change agent to say, okay, now you have permission to move forward. No, if you are a young person, if you're mid-career, if you've been around for a while, we have to take proactive action to create a vision for what we want to achieve in our organizations, then develop a roadmap and deliver on that roadmap. So there's more to share, but for now, we're going to take a short break. And I'm excited for the rest of the morning. So talk to you in a minute.